What's up, everybody? Good morning. Welcome to Philly with John Marks on PHLY. We're live on a Thursday morning as the Eagles schedule. It's official. We talked about it. And much to the disgruntlement of a lot of people out there that are complaining, what's the big deal about the NFL schedule release? Like, all right, shut up. I'm an NFL fan. I love the fact that now the schedule is officially out. And yes, football fans are excited. NFL fans are excited. Good morning to everybody watching live on YouTube. We're live every morning at 8 a.m., 8 to 9 a.m. on PHLY. Just make sure you subscribe, as our subscribers are flying through the roof now. We're gaining traction, ladies and gentlemen. So subscribe, like, comment, get involved in the live chat, as many of us do, as many of you do every morning. So thank you for that. And if you're not watching the show live, you're watching later on YouTube, perfectly fine. Just make sure you're liking, subscribing, and comment. Give a comment on the episode, just like if you were chatting live on the show. Wanted to mention this as well. If you don't get a chance to watch the show live, you should download the podcast, the audio version of the program, just like you do with any other podcast. Just search Philly with John Marks to get your podcast, and do this. Rate and review. 5-star reviews are greatly appreciated. I believe we are perfect on the 5-star reviews. So if you hate me, it's an opportunity to crush me. But I don't want you to do that. So if you like the show, you listen to the show, you listen to the audio-only podcast, 5-star review would be greatly appreciated. Thank you for all of that. Julia Hoff is producing today, as some people asked there in the chat. We'll get to Aaron Nola and his meatball situation coming up here in a second. Michael Bradley, my old buddy, old pal. He'll join us coming up about 20 minutes from now to discuss all of the above. Michael also is a longtime college basketball writer. And I want his thoughts on the 76ers and potentially what they should do at number 3. So we'll talk to him coming up about that. He's also a great baseball guy. But Eagles schedule, and I know somebody out there in the chat's already complaining about stupid schedule talk. Stupid schedule talk? Are you kidding me? This is unbelievable and awesome. All right, so it comes out last night. It becomes official to what it is. So my thoughts on the schedule are very interesting. Very interesting. In some respects, you look at it and you're like, you know what? It's tough. But I feel like the NFL also hooked the Eagles up in a lot of respects. So just a couple of things right off the bat. No back-to-back home games. They have 2 back-to-back road games, which when you look at the back-to-back road games, they're not even. Remember previous years they had 3 straight road games and they were doing a lot of traveling for the road games, and it was like, well, Jesus, NFL, thanks a lot. So they're at the Giants on Thursday Night Football, and then you get the extra days because then you're at Minnesota. So at the Giants, bus ride up, right, at Minnesota, and you have the extra days. So that you're not going to be affected on that short week. Also, before the Thursday night game against the Giants, you're home against the Broncos. So you're not flying in from Los Angeles. You don't get in until Monday morning, and then you play on Thursday. No, so a home game against the Broncos, and then at the Giants. So really, when you get that Thursday night game, you're not affected by it at all. And so the travel's not bad there. The other back-to-back road game is Saturday at Washington, Saturday, December 20th at Washington. And then you're at Buffalo 8 days later. Not saying they're easy games, but again, the travel isn't a problem. And really, that's it. I mean, you fly to Los Angeles once against the Chargers, and like you're at Green Bay, at Tampa Bay, at Kansas City. The travel and the road games and where you're going is not difficult at all. It actually benefits, and it's kind to the Eagles. The Commanders and the Giants, the 3-week span, it's just weird. I'm okay with doing it with the Giants, but then to kind of set that up at the end of the year where you have the Commanders at Washington, at Buffalo, home against the Commanders. I know why they do it. It could set up, and it could be for the division. That final game of the season could also, as it frequently happens with the Eagles, it could be pointless. We won't know until we get there. But at Washington, at Buffalo, home against the Commanders, I just hate having 2 division games within 3 weeks. Space it out because they do it against the Giants, which I don't really care about. At the Giants, at the Vikings, home against the Giants. Who cares about that? And then you go into the bye week. But it's kind of a soft, it's part of the soft area of the schedule that they have. It's weird. It's weird to do that. 35% of the games are not on Sunday. And you have 2 Thursday night football games, weeks 1 through 6. And then you have the Monday night games, weeks 10 through 14. By the way, the Thursday night game to start the season isn't your typical Thursday night game because you're rested because it's the first game of the season. So you can't really be like, oh, they're screwing the Eagles with these Thursday night games on short weeks. No, that doesn't count. They only have one other than that. You look at the schedule in general. We knew the Cowboys was there at the Chiefs, and they're coming off the Brazil game. So there is there's travel and those things with the Chiefs to where they're coming off the Brazil game. And then you're home against the Rams and then at the Buccaneers. Not an easy first 4 games of the season. If you give a win against the Cowboys, honestly, I feel like I feel like the Super Bowl and the Eagles beating the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. I like the Eagles big time in that game. The Chiefs, with Andy Reid and Pat Mahomes, and maybe I'm reacting too much to one game. They weren't necessarily great last year, and they've tweaked the roster, but the Eagles really dominated them. So I look at that game, and I'm not like, oh, Kansas City revenge. That's a tough game. No, I'm pretty confident heading into that game. Cowboys, Chiefs, confident with that. The Rams, this is a revenge. This is a true revenge game. Anybody hear Jared Verse on the Rich Eisen show who was talking about, he was asked about the Eagles, and he said that he thinks about the game every day. And you remember Jared Verse, who talked crap on the Eagles fans, said he hated the Eagles fans, and then he got everything you would expect a player to get that said he hated the Eagles fans heading into a playoff game. And the dude balled out. He was probably the best defensive player of either team. And I have mad respect for him after he played, because then he showed his respect for the Eagles fans after the game. But that was the toughest playoff game that the Eagles played. And I've heard Sean McVay talk about how that game still burns them because it went down to the last couple minutes, and you can say it wouldn't have been as close if it wasn't for the weather conditions. Yeah, I'm not so sure. The Rams are a really, really good team. So that's a tough game in week 3. And then you go to Tampa. I don't know why the Eagles are always at Tampa. It seems like every year they're at Tampa. And that won't be an easy game. It really never is. And that's in September, so it's going to be hot as hell down there likely. So if you go 3-1 in those first 4 games, you're pretty happy with the start to the season because that is a difficult stretch. All right, now your easier stretch. Game week 5, Denver at home. And I know Denver was pretty good last year, and I have respect for Sean Payton. I think Bo Nix is going to be and was a good NFL quarterback last year. The Eagles at home should mop them up. At the Giants, at the Vikings, with J.J. McCarthy as their likely starter, and then home against the Giants. That is a 4-0 stretch, worst case 3-1. So if we had them 6-2 through the first 8 weeks, I would say that's pretty good. You go into the bye week. Think about the Eagles getting a bye week. Pretty much it's 17 weeks, so you can't do it straight down the middle, but it's straight down the middle. After 8 weeks, normally we get it early or we get it late or it's ill-timed. Again, the schedule makers hook the Eagles up with a good bye week in the middle of the season. All right, coming out of the bye week at the Packers. Oh, yeah. This is the tush-push revenge game. And I expect the Eagles to be juiced up for this and to have revenge on their mind. This is not a revenge game from the Packers saying, oh, Eagles beat us last year, like the Rams. No, this is revenge game because Sirianni and Saquon and that Eagles team is going to be pissed going up there because the Packers led the revolution, commingled with the NFL. It was a conspiracy, ladies and gentlemen, to dismantle and end the tush push. The play the Eagles had created and was unstoppable. So now they have to make up a rule to stop it. Congratulations, NFL and Green Bay Packers. Home against the Lions. Sunday Night Football. At the Cowboys. And then the Black Friday Chicago Bears, 3 p.m. Ultimate tailgating. We've never seen anything like this game before. That's a tough stretch. I'll give them 3-1 during that stretch. At the Chargers, Monday Night Football. So you have the longer break because you go Friday and then you go Monday at Los Angeles, home against the Raiders on Sunday, at the Commanders. That's that Saturday game, at the Bills, at the Commanders. So if you have them in the last 5 games going 3-2, and you know what? Like, I'm not even going to rate the last game because we don't know if they're going to need it or not. So let's just go through 16 and then you deal with week 17 later. Like that's your toughest stretch. I think that's where you could go 2-2. So going by my wins and losses, dog, the Eagles have 4 losses. They're 12-4 heading into week 17. And that's me being conservative because I don't want to be the 17-0 guy because I know that it doesn't generally work out like that. Although the Eagles came pretty damn close to doing that last year. So also keep that in mind. This is a team without a weakness heading into the season. Injuries happen and everything else, but this looks like an easily a 12-13 to 14 win team. Not an easy schedule. You didn't expect it to be an easy schedule. A lot of primetime games. Also a lot of 1 p.m. games. The Rams is a 1 p.m. game. That will not be moved. The Bucs at the Bucs. That's a 1 p.m. game. That will not be moved. Then you start this flexible scheduling that the NFL has. So Denver 1 p.m. that can be moved. At Minnesota that can be moved. Giants at home, that can be moved. I doubt it will be. And then pretty much everything after that can be flexed. The Monday night game doesn't get flexed, but the Sunday night game can be flexed. Lions. The 425 against the Cowboys, that can be flexed. Actually, the Monday night game against the Chargers can be flexed. So a lot of these games, we're giving you the times for them, and we're looking at the primetime games. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to end up working out like that. The Amazon Prime Day, the Black Friday game, that's obviously not going to be moved. And some of the other primetime games will not be moved. But with flexible scheduling in the NFL, they've made it to where their broadcast partners can move around games because they don't want to have a clunker. They pay too much money for that. So that is the Eagles schedule in a nutshell. More with that on Michael Bradley coming up here in about 10 or 15 minutes. This portion of the program is sponsored by GLAT Hair Restoration, GLATHairMM.com, 610-980-4000. You can also slide into my DMs if you have any questions. 610-980-4000. But follow me on social media if you want to see pictures of my awesome hair. All right, Phillies last night, or really yesterday, it was a doubleheader. Jesus Luzardo looked excellent. What an acquisition in the offseason. I'm not patting myself on the back, but I thought it was a great trade by Dave Dombrowski, and I thought Luzardo was going to be a big part of this successful Phillies rotation, and he's been so far. He's been great. He really, really has been great. So a well-played, tight 2-1 victory in the opener, and then last night, I take no joy in Aaron Nola not having a good outing at all. I honestly don't, because I am very much comfortable. When I say comfortable, this is just what I think he is. He is your 4th or 5th best starter on your team, depending on what your rotation looks like. In this rotation, he might be your 6th best starter when Andrew Painter is eligible to play in the big leagues. And you're going to take Aaron Nola out of your rotation. He's got 6 years left on his contract. It's $170-some million, and he's only the 2nd year into it. So I have said since they made the trade, don't like the signing at all, or made the trade. Since they made the signing, don't like the signing at all. But it's also like he at least is going to give you innings, and he's going to be a decent to above average starter in the first 3 to 4 years of the contract. Well, it doesn't look great so far. And is there real worry about the future? Well, before we get to that, last night, he wasn't able to put guys away with 2 strikes. And when your velocity is down a little bit, when your command is down, when you don't want to throw fastballs because you're afraid you're throwing meatballs down the middle of the plate, that is what you get out of Aaron Nola last night. He gives up home runs when his stuff is sharp. So what happens when his stuff isn't sharp? Well, you see what happened last night. 9 runs, 12 hits. His ERA's over 6. And is there reason for concern? Yeah, of course. Of course there's reason to be concerned. He's 1-7 with a 6.16 ERA. Of course there's reason to be concerned. But they also have an unbelievable rotation outside of Nola. And just because he's struggling like this, if we want to now look and peer into the future, he's kind of been an every other year guy. He'll have a good year, and then he will have a not so great year. He'll have a good year, and he'll have like an okay year. Well, when it's all said and done and we're at the end of the season, I don't expect Aaron Nola to have a 6 ERA. Probably 4 to 4.5 now. Maybe. I'm trying to be positive, everybody. I'm trying to be positive. This is not going to be a good contract going forward. Can he be a pitcher that throws around 90 and still is a quality inning eater? Sure. I think he can be that. But is that what we're talking about when we talk about the contract? Or are we talking about the fact that he's got 6 more years and he averages just under $25 million a year? Because that's really what we're talking about. And here's the other thing. Who in this rotation this year deserves to be ousted if they're going to bring Andrew Painter in? Ranger's not going anywhere. And the other guys aren't going anywhere. So now you're going to have Aaron Nola because he's Aaron Nola and he's making $25 million a year? Yeah, you probably are. So don't you want your 5th starter or your 4th starter to be a guy that is a quality pitcher or a young pitcher that's not making a lot of money? Because you don't have a Dodgers payroll where you can just pay anybody that you want to. The Phillies spend a ton of money, so I'm not going to rip them for the amount of money they spend. I'm fine with the actual dollars that they spend. It's the allocation of these resources is where I'm starting to have a problem. And Aaron Nola averaging $25 million a year, that sucks. Because that's money you could be paying a bullpen arm, a position player, anybody else other than Aaron Nola. So he better get his act together. Because I've already seen, and I was streaming last night on YouTube, and I already had people that were saying, well, will the Phillies trade him? Who the hell's taking on that contract? $25 million a year? Now, ride it out. I still think he has quality starts for you this season. But again, I'm trying to be positive, and I'm not trying to be a total dick because he has not been good, and it does not look good. It doesn't. So luckily, the Phillies rotation is excellent. How about this? And you can pop this up there, Julia. How about Jordan? It's not Jordan like Bill Belichick's girlfriend. It's Jordan, but it's not Romano. It's Romano. Jordan Romano has been excellent. Really, in his last 6 starts, last 6 appearances, he hasn't given up a run. But since April 20th, Jordan Romano has went 6 2/3. He's given up 1 earned run. His ERA is 1.35. You see the graphic on the screen. Jeff Hoffman, meanwhile, who started off the season unbelievably, since April 20th, he's given up 10 earned runs in 8 innings, and his ERA has skyrocketed. Now, he's still striking out a lot of guys, and I like Jeff Hoffman, but you got to realize that there was a couple of teams that said no after looking at his medicals and after giving him a physical. And Dave Dombrowski has been on the record saying he was offering a similar contract, but they wouldn't take it at the time. All right, so you can take that down. Thank you. At the time, they wouldn't take the offer because they were expecting more money. And then later on, after the Phillies had already moved on, Hoffman signed for more or less the same money. But more on Jordan Romano. He's looked really good. Struck out the side last night or yesterday in the 9th inning of their win. And just he looks like the closer that they signed. So we had to expect coming off injury, or we should have expected that he was going to be a little bit rusty to start because he's able to throw the slider for strikes. He's getting swings and misses on it. The fastball has a lot of life. He's throwing it for strikes. He's commanding it, and he looks really good. K-Red has a great comment right there. Closers are like hockey goalies or like kickers, right? Since I'm not the biggest hockey guy in the world. They're like kickers. When they lose it, it could be trouble because it's mental. When a closer can't, or a relief pitcher, or really like a baseball player in general, when they lose it, it's all mental. And right now, right now with Romano, he's just rolling. And Aaron Nola, is it mental with him? I don't think it's mental with him at all. He just, his stuff isn't great right now. Is he injured? I mean, maybe his velocity's not down. Like if he was throwing 86 or 87, I'd say, yeah, there's something that's going on. Do I expect them to maybe say, hey, Aaron, maybe take a stint on the IL? Is it possible his shoulder has fatigue? The dude throws more innings in baseball than almost anybody. Him and Zach Wheeler. every 5 days taking the ball, there's real value for that. That's part of signing him to that contract is you're rewarding him because he does take the ball every 5 days and he gives you 6 innings pretty much every time out. But like, would I be surprised to see if tomorrow or later today, Aaron Nola goes on the 10-day or the 15-day IL with shoulder inflammation or something like that? I would not be surprised. I would not. These pitchers, you don't think that they pitch through elbow and shoulder and blister and stuff like that? Absolutely. Aaron Nola has been a warrior for this team. So I would not be surprised if he's injured, at least a little bit, or hurt. And maybe it rejuvenates him. Maybe it gives him a little bit of life back on the fastball and just sharpness on his pitches because he's flat right now and he can't put guys away with 2 strikes. That's a problem. But like right now, it may benefit him to maybe take a little bit of time off and rest that arm. All right, coming up, Michael Bradley, broadcaster, journalist, longtime Philly guy. My former host when I was making my start in radio. I was the producer. He was the host back on the old Sports Radio 950. Almost 20 years ago now, which is crazy to think. Michael Bradley, a really good baseball guy. Eagles schedule and his thoughts, because he's a longtime college basketball writer, his thoughts on the 76ers and their potential draft picks. That's coming up next right here. Philly with John Marks, 2-2. We are back right after this. As soon as we get the all right, let's talk about Ace. Ace is the place for pathetic men like me. And I'm not proud of it, guys. I'm not proud that unless I can do labor. I'm not a wuss. I'm not a wimp. I can mow the lawn. I was talking to Julie before the show about how I don't know when the hell I'm going to mow the lawn because it's wet outside. I mow the lawn. I can do landscaping and things like that. As far as skill, there's no skill with me. I can't fix anything. I can barely hang a picture on the wall. That's why you need Ace Hardware Home Services. The power of the Ace brand, striving to be the best, most trusted provider of home preservation services. What does that mean? Well, a wide range of residential maintenance, installation, and home repair services are available. So, plumbing, heating, cooling, and electrical. And if you need equipment installed, I can't do that. Free estimates on equipment installation and replacement with trusted advisors and options that are best suited for your home and your budget. And emergency services. What happens on Sunday morning when your toilet's clogged up or it's overflowing? Ace Hardware Home Services. Service you can trust. Satisfaction is guaranteed. They're going to make it right no matter what. Visit Ace Hardware Home Services at acehardwarehomeservices.com to get started on your next project today. acehardwarehomeservices.com. Hoo-ah. All right, we're back with PARX. That's right. Live bet baseball. Pro basketball playoffs have been amazing. They really have. Last night, not close games, but it was interesting to see Boston look really good and look a lot different without Jason Tatum last night. So you can bet individual playoff performances in baseball, in pro hoops, in pro hockey, right? Strikeouts, RBIs, and more. Rebounds. I hit on a Derek White last night. I had Derek White points, rebounds, assists. He went off. Live betting is better on the PARX app also. The PARX online sportsbook and online casino app. So let's talk about live dealer table games, blackjack, roulette, craps, poker, hot online slots, and new users get up to $1,000 casino bonus back if you're down in the first 24 hours. Go to betparx.com, download the app right now, and enjoy all the action and excitement from the casino at your fingertips. You must be 21 and in PA, New Jersey, Maryland, or Michigan for PARX. You love to play. You play to win. You bet PARX. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Hoo-ah, we're back. I don't have a gambling problem. I suck at gambling, which is a problem. But it's not the same problem as if you have a gambling problem. It's like if I call 1-800-GAMBLER and I say, hey, my bets are terrible, or my picks are terrible, they're going to hang up on me. That's true. Like when I was a kid, I was not a bad kid, but in the summertime I was bored. So my friends and I used to used to prank call any 800 number we would see on TV. So I'd be watching McHale's Navy and Hogan's Heroes, and the commercial would come up for 1-800-TRAIN-18. It was Allstate Career School. And I still remember the song. All across America, we stand out from the crowd. And then they'd show this guy driving a big rig and telling you how great it is to be on the open road. And then you call 1-800-TRAIN-18. And I would call and I would send my friends, free literature to be a truck driver. But we would also call 1-800-662-HELP or 1-800-COCAINE. And we would call up and pretend that we would have drug problems, which was like, think about that now. What a dumb thing to do. Anyway, Michael Bradley we'll be waiting for in a second. Julia, do we have him or is he still trying to? We haven't had Michael on. He's not on yet. And he is, listen, Michael's getting up there in age. I'm not going to call him old, but I can probably call him old at this point. And I haven't had him on the show. So he's got to connect and he's got to do a lot of other stuff. So let me send him, you good? Question mark. He may have a soup can that he's trying to put up to his ear and he's trying to talk into a carrot like it's a microphone or something like that. But, yeah, so we'll see where Michael is right now. If he is, Julia's sending me a text message. Nope, not yet. So with the Eagles schedule, you always have these years where like you think you know what you have going in, and then there's always a team or two or three that are a lot different once you get started than once it happens. There's injuries that happen. Like the one thing I love about Dallas being earlier in the season is that how many times have we had in the last few years where Dak gets injured or Jalen gets injured? Like last thing I want to see is backup quarterback against Dak or Jalen Hurts against backup quarterback. Actually, I'm fine with backup quarterback against Jalen because that's fun to watch the Cowboys get romped. But opening week of the season, like it's the perfect time to play the Cowboys. There's going to be a lot of buzz for the game. And then you have them again. And it's actually for them, it doesn't set up because there's no trap game against the Eagles, but it's the Sunday before the Thanksgiving game. So is a look ahead or whatever. Like, I don't know if it's necessarily a look ahead, but still like they're hosting the Eagles and then they have the Thanksgiving game the following week. Also on Christmas, there were a lot of Eagles fans that were worried about Christmas. And they're not playing on Christmas, but the Cowboys are. So the Cowboys play, I believe, 3 straight Thursday night games, or they play 3 Thursday night games because they play on Christmas as well, which is the Thursday night. So, I mean, really like the role of the schedule, because we knew who they were going to be playing, but the role of the schedule is, it matters. It does. It matters every time when you look at like, okay, like initially we know that there's going to be a tough game, but it's like, oh, this is the third game of a road trip. Or, oh, like the one trap game, but the Raiders stink too much. And we'll actually see with Pete Carroll because maybe they're a team that kind of looks a little bit better. They have Geno Smith this year, but no one's going to look at that as a trap game. But you're on the road Monday night at the Chargers. You come home short week against the Raiders, and then you have that Saturday, 6 days after that, you're at the Commanders. So that very much could be a tough game there. No, right now. Michael Bradley thought it was 8:45. So maybe he can join us right now. Maybe we're going to wait or whatever. But the problem is, like, I should have Julia involved on the text message. So when I'm live on the air, I'm not actually having to do it when I'm live on the air. So I'll have him text back or 8:45. Just let me know I'm live on air. There we go. So if I give them 12 wins, if I give them 13 wins, the real question from here is who are the other contenders and what do you expect from them this year in the, I'll even see the NFC or the NFC East. So like the Commanders, do I expect the Commanders to take a step back this year? I mean, maybe a little bit. Year to year, from year 1 to year 2, with a young quarterback, and now teams are going to be preparing for Jaden Daniels. And here's the other thing. Can he stay healthy over the course of a full season? He got banged up in the middle weeks. He had a rib problem. because the dude, such a big part of his game is scrambling and making plays with his legs. Now, he's not doing that because he's not gifted as a passer. He is a great passer. He really is. And he doesn't need to run. But if you're dynamic at it and it's a part of your game, of course you're going to do it. So it's what I have to allow, at least for a little bit of a step back from the Commanders. I still expect them to be a playoff team. Also, keep in mind, there hasn't been a repeat winner in the NFC East in 21 years. The Ike Reese 2004. Okay, Michael Bradley's going to be 845, so we don't have to worry about that. So you don't have to, it hasn't happened in 21 years for whatever freaking reason. It's crazy. So until it happens, I guess you have to actually look at it and say, yeah, the Eagles are obviously a great team, but for some reason, this happens every year. So the Commanders, I expect the Commanders to be good, but are they a 10 or 11 win team? I think they're a 10 or 11 win team this year. The Cowboys, when Dak's healthy, they generally win a decent amount of regular season games and they lose in the playoffs. So could I see the Commanders being a great, Michael Bradley is coming on right now. Could I see the Commanders being 12 or 13 this year? Yeah, I could see them taking a step up or being like they were last year. And could I see them being a force in the playoffs? I could. Could I see the Cowboys winning 12 games? I could. Could I see the Cowboys going to the Super Bowl? I can't. Come on. Let's go. Come on. Okay. Now, this is what happens when you have an old folk that you're trying to get on for a video interview. You have to take the steps. So no, I can't see the Cowboys being anything other than a regular season Tiger. The Lions, I know they have a new offensive coordinator, and Jared Goff is Jared Goff. The Lions have a ton of talent on that team. And Dan Campbell, for his weaknesses that he has, and he has weaknesses, his culture is his strength. And the Lions are a great team. I don't expect them to go maybe backwards a little bit, but they're going to be right there at the top of the NFC North. The Packers are going to be a playoff team, or they should be a playoff team. So, I mean, no real surprises in the NFC. The Vikings take a backseat a little bit. As joining me right now, I was his producer almost 20 years ago on 950 Sports Talk, Sports Radio 950. It wasn't even 950 ESPN at the time. He's a writer. He's a broadcaster. He's a defender of truth and justice in the world of sports. His name is Michael Bradley, and he joins us right now. Michael Bradley, how are you, buddy?
What's going on? You forgot that I'm actually fooling them at Villanova. I'm a full-time professor there now.
Well, put that in your bio. Do you have that in your bio?
I don't know.
Well, I knew that you're a full-time at Villanova. Is that why I see so many? Four classes
a semester. You had 104 students this year.
Are you teaching science, biology, or what are you?
Metallurgy. Yeah. And all that. I'm teaching technology.
What's up, dude? Well, congratulations. I knew that you were teaching there. I didn't know you were full-time. Are you a professor?
I'm a professor.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's scary. I'm influencing the next generation.
Well, no wonder I see so many pro Villanova tweets from you. I know you're like mainline Delco guy, but still.
Look, all I do is try to retweet my students and I'm also the faculty advisor to the newspaper, so I try to retweet all their stuff to give them my vast network of Twitter followers.
Awesome,
right?
Well, that's great. Well, I didn't know that. Congratulations. I'm sure you're an excellent teacher.
Yeah,
excellent.
Well, I don't know about that.
All right, let's start with the Eagles' schedule. It's funny when you think your team's good, then it's like, all right, it used to be the 10-6, 11-5
right.
Would be kind of the whatever. If you think your team's Super Bowl worthy, 12-4. Yeah. But with this team, even with the tough schedule, man, it's like 12 or 13 wins. And even last year, you look what they did after they started off a little bit slow. There's not a weakness on this team. I guess if I really wanted to pick maybe edge rusher or something like that. But the weaknesses we're talking about, I feel like Howie's done things to address it. It's a matter of it actually happening. But if that's our biggest complaint about this Eagles team, man, this is an elite defense. This is a young, elite, inexpensive defense. And this is an offense that, listen, they do like if they wanted to try to be a prolific passing offense, I guess they could because they have the weapons to do it. They don't need to do that. They don't need to do that. Your thoughts, Michael Bradley?
Yeah, this is a team, and we saw what Howie did in the offseason, right? He did not go out and get big free agents. He didn't swing for the fences in the draft. I call this a meat and potatoes draft. They needed a linebacker who could also be an edge rusher. They got one. They needed help in the secondary. They got it. He's always going to fortify the offensive line. Did that. So he's basically saying, I don't need a lot here. They filled in a little bit at cornerback with some free agent signings. They're hoping they get some help in the offensive line. But this, when you've got a quarterback, running back, two outstanding wide receivers, and a tight end who are all Pro Bowl worthy, plus an offensive line that is highly efficient, even though it lost a starter, and a defense under a defensive coordinator is one of the best around, you don't have to do it. Now, what you worry about, okay, what's going to happen with injuries? Is everybody going to play as well as they did last year? Do we get sophomore slumps for Mitchell and DeJean? But the Eagles, as you said, they're expected to win, to go 12-5, 13-4. And if they go 10-7, people are going to be disappointed. But this is you got all 6 NFC playoff teams. You've got 4 AFC playoff teams. Even the easy quote unquote games, the Bears are going to be better. They fortified their offensive line. They have some more weapons. This is not an easy schedule. This is a team, but it's a mature team. You said it's a young, inexpensive team. It's a mature team. It's one. They know that every week they have to play well. Is there going to be a clunker? Yeah, there's going to be one week somewhere in there where we go, oh my goodness, what happened? But I think they're going to be fewer of them than most teams will experience.
Yeah, the one thing you worry about from last year, it's so difficult to win back-to-back titles. The Chiefs just did it. The fact that we're in the Super Bowl for a third straight year is unbelievable. It's a testament to what Andy Reid and Pat Mahomes has been doing, but it's so hard to win back-to-back for the reasons of you accomplish your goal. You're the toast of the world. Saquon Barkley's on the banquet tour. He ran for 2,000 yards. He's a Super Bowl champion, right? These guys are stars. Cooper DeJean and Reed Blankenship, they have a show now. They have their podcasts on PHLY. These guys are stars, national stars. And now you got to go back and you got to play these teams that are pissed and they hate you. And you're coming out thinking, hey, we're the Eagles. We're going to beat everybody. They have something else in store for you. So that's the one thing year to year after winning a championship. We saw the Cole Hamels banquet tour in 2009, how it affected them. You worry about Saquon with the workload, with the yards and everything like that. He was their offense last year, right? So if you don't have the same player, because, Michael, I'm not going to say he's not going to come into camp in shape. It's hard to do that 2 years in a row, man. Nearly impossible.
Well, think about it. Also, the previous 4 seasons, he didn't play a full season. He missed something like 10 games out of those 4 seasons. So is he going to be 100% the whole time? We hope that he is. And you're right. They go to Kansas City. All right. The Rams are coming here. You don't think the Rams thought they should have won that game? They're saying we're one play away from beating the Eagles and going to the Super Bowl. So
I think that's a loss. I think honestly, Michael, I think they broke Kansas City and they're going to lose to the Rams.
Well, that first 5-game stretch is real difficult. And if they go 4-1, Eagles fans should be delighted. Even 3-2 is pretty good when you're talking about elite opponents. So I think that, you're right. Is this team going to have the right attitude that it needs to go through this gauntlet of a schedule? We'll see. But you're right. Repeating is very difficult. But I think this team, Howie's done a great job. I mean, it's amazing. Let's go back to when he drafted the damn fireman. And everybody thought he was incompetent. And then Chip Kelly puts him in a closet for 2 and 15, 16th years. And we think that he's completely out of his depth. Now, all of a sudden, he's the best GM in the NFL, and no one will take his calls because they're afraid to trade with him.
He's being called a Hall of Famer by his 2 Super Bowls.
Yeah.
Been the two Super Bowls in 3 years that they damn near should have won or could have won. And you know what? And you got to give him credit for it because he's learned from his mistakes, in particular in the draft. So reaching, I'm not even going to say not being prepared, but maybe not trusting your staff on who they should draft. Like he was trying to trade up for Campbell, ends up falling into his lap at 31. And guess what? He's listening to Vic Fangio. He's saying, Vic, what do you need on defense? Sounds good to me, right? Like listening to your guys, because we know like Howie's strengths, I've always been told by insiders, wasn't an eye for talent. It was wheeling and dealing. It was knowing value. And when you're getting good value, knowing when not to worry about value, like with Saquon Barkley. They didn't wait the market out and sign him. They got him. They paid market value for a running back, which is still undervalued. But that part of the GMing, he's the best in the business he's really been. But now he's just relying on his staff and his draft picks. Even if he's not hitting later on, look at the last couple drafts. First round pick, second round pick, third round pick have been above average to stars, which is nearly impossible. So he's crushing the draft right now.
Yeah, and the two things you said, the wheeling dealing, it's always, you love to see Howie with 3 fifth-round picks because he's going to turn them into 2 sixths, a fourth, a half of a third. He loves that. And as you said, the value. Jihad Campbell, they thought they had him as a top 10 pick. It comes down to their pick at 32. All right, let's move up one because we're afraid someone else may go with Kansas City and get him. Now we've got a player who, if he's healthy, if his shoulder's okay and his knee's okay, is going to be someone that really doesn't belong at the bottom of the first round.
Last 3 drafts before this year: Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, Jalen Hunt. All starred in the Super Bowl. Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith, Tyler Steen. Steen might be a starter this year. We know about the first 2. Jordan Davis, Cam Jurgens, Nakobe Dean. Starter. And Cam Jurgens is a Pro Bowl type player.
Yep. And that's where you look at your drafts. Yeah, it's nice to get the 6th rounder who becomes a starter or a rotation player, but you can't have a lot of whiffs in the first 3 rounds, which he did early in his career. He had a lot of problems there, and that's what people thought. He didn't know what he was doing. He's redone, as you said, he's redone his philosophy, and he's very successful.
Devontae Smith, Landon Dickerson, Milton Williams the year before that. Because, I mean, like, come on. Give me a break. So he went 2020, Michael, Jalen Reagor, Jalen Hurts, which ended up being a good pick. Yes. Davion Taylor, Kevon Wallace, Jack Driscoll. Horrible.
Yes.
Like horrible. And then something happened after that because he's had drafts every year that have been unbelievable.
Yep.
Unbelievable.
And that's how, and they've been able to build a team. You said a cheap defense. Remember when the Seahawks won the Super Bowl, they had a bunch of young players on their team. So they were able to pay Russell Wilson. They're able to pay some of their bigger players because their younger players don't cost as much.
All right. One more thing, and it's going to sound negative with the Eagles before we talk about the Phillies. The one thing I worry about on the defense, and it goes back to what we were talking about before, is we're champions. Money changes people. Money changes relationships with people. When the Eagles won the Super Bowl before, Nelson Aguilar was pissed because he didn't get a new contract. So I think it's one of the reasons why they shipped GJ out of here, because they didn't want to give him a new contract, and he was going to be a problem. But Jalen Carter, the book on him coming out of Georgia was not a good practice player. Coaches did not like him. Now you give him a Super Bowl. You tell him he's one of the best defensive players in the year, in the league, and now he's going to be waiting for a new contract. And now another veteran is no longer with the team. You worry that you don't have checks and balances other than Vic Fangio, to where you're going to get a veteran that's willing to stand up and tell him what he needs to hear.
Look, here's what you hope happens. Remember when the Patriots were winning all those Super Bowls, you had veterans coming to play there at, later in their prime or later in their career because they wanted to win. And they said, we'll do whatever it takes because we want to win. If they keep building this winning culture, they will have that. But you're going to have to pay the main guys. That's just the way it is. And you don't want to lose your main anchor in the middle of the line. So you're going to have to pay him at some point. And if somebody else gets upset, you saw, look, Milton Williams, they were not going to give him a big contract. He goes and gets paid. Congratulations, you deserved it. Now they bring in another rotational tackle in the draft. They hope that will fill that role. So this is a balance. You hope the salary cap keeps going up so they have a little more money. But Howie has also, as you said, he knows how to draft. He also knows how to structure contracts and pay people at the right times so they're not getting clobbered with gigantic onerous deals.
Yeah, and Jeffrey Lurie pays everybody up front, which a lot of owners won't do, and it allows you to do that. So we always have to mention that with Jeffrey Lurie, because it's not just Howie, because he does. He's only able to manipulate the cap because Jeffrey Lurie will write big checks up front.
Yeah, and whenever Jeffrey Lurie needs some more money, he sells 2% of the team and gets $50 million or something. It's like, okay, here's a bonus. So it's a hell of an asset. That's why whenever you hear the owners complaining about the fact that, we're not making any money, it's Boulder Dash, because the value of their franchises appreciates at 11% every year, and they're sitting on a giant pile of cash whenever they need it.
All right, so listen, let's pivot to the Phillies here, Michael Bradley, and I have the play-by-play from last night. Nola from the stretch. Here's the pitch. Swinging a long drive. There goes another one. Meatballs. Michael Bradley. He can't put guys away with 2 strikes, and he doesn't have confidence. He didn't last night. He didn't have confidence in anything that he was throwing. And it showed. And Aaron Nola, now's ERA is over 6. Is he 1-7 now?
Yes.
Is that his record?
Yes.
He's 1-7.
1-7.
How am I supposed to handle this as a Phillies fan?
You know, back in 1980, before you were a glint in your parents' eyes or whatever, the
when I was 4.
pitchers had the Phillies had a pitcher named Nino Espinosa, and Marty Bystrom came up in September and went 5-0. And then it came time for the playoffs, and they sent Nino Espinosa to the doctor, who found something wrong with his back or whatever. Maybe time for Aaron Nola to go to Nino Espinosa's doctor. As much as you hate to see it, Taijuan Walker is not an awful 5th starter. Aaron Nola right now is an awful 5th starter.
Yeah.
His ERA 6. He can't get guys out. He's throwing meatballs, as you said, home runs like crazy. Oh, it's cold. I'm waiting for it to get warm. His fastball isn't what it was. And good news, we got him at $24.5 million until 2030. This is a horrible contract by Dombrowski. And everybody's, you have to keep Aaron Nola because he's an innings eater. Well, right now he's eating fat balls being hit back in his mouth by hitters that are saying this guy doesn't have anything anymore. He has to change his approach. He's not going to strike guys out. He's got to learn to throw the ball down in the zone and get some ground ball outs, or else he's going to be a really big problem for this franchise.
Yeah, it's a great point. He needs to play the contact more.
Yes.
Instead of worrying about the strikeouts. Yep. Nope. He can't put him away. So play the contact.
What was it last night? They swung 33 times and whiffed 6. I mean, that's something like impossible. That's not good.
So, I mean, I actually said it earlier in the show. I'm sure that maybe the shoulder's a little stiff or something. Hey, Aaron, why don't you take 2 weeks? Go on the IL, get some rest. Maybe take 3 weeks. Let's get rejuvenated a little bit. I know he likes to, like you had said, he's an innings eater. And at the time, I said I hated the contract because, I don't need to give a guy that is that type of pitcher in his profile as he loses velocity. He's not going to get better. Certainly not going to get better. But I don't even blame Dombrowski for it, Michael. I blame ownership. To me, this was a John Middleton move. And I don't know that for a fact. Draft pick, one of the most successful pitching draft picks that they've ever made.
No doubt.
Had been very important to their success in the rotation. And then you can make the baseball rationale by saying he's never injured. He takes the ball every 5 days, because you don't pay a 4th or a 5th starter $25 million a year.
Right.
You just don't. But
they are.
But they are. Holy hell. I called him the Joe Blanton of this rotation. Holy hell, the response that I got. It's for people that don't really understand what Joe Blanton was. He was an innings eater. He was the back of the rotation starter. That's what Aaron Nola is.
Yes.
Making $25 million a year.
Yeah, and that's a big problem. And what we are hoping as a Phillies fan now is they don't fall into the same hole that they did after 2008 when they extended guys whom they shouldn't have extended, and they just slowly went down. And, remember, went to the World Series, went to the NLCS, went to the NLDS. What are they, losing the wild card this year? And then we got to decide, do you give JT Realmuto a big contract? No. Do you give Schwarber one? Yes.
Yes.
What do you do with Bohm? Is Turner a shortstop in the long term? No, right. This team has some questions. It's playing good ball. Let's not get upset about the fact that they lost last night to the Cardinals. They had won 4 series in a row before that. But there's a lot of questions about this team. And one of the ones that nobody, and maybe you are talking about, is Bryce Harper hasn't been very good for the first month plus of the season. And I know he had a double in the bloop single yesterday that won, was the game winner. He's not hitting home runs, and he looks like he's trying to hit a home run on every pitch, and he's getting fooled.
Yeah, he is a very mental player. When he's swimming in his own head, he swims in his own head. He really, really does. Like a lot of baseball players.
Yes.
But yeah, he's trying to find it. Michael, I wish we had more time, but we don't. Let's do it again. You were awesome. Thank you.
I'm always available.
The professor, Michael Bradley, the professor. Do you still eat a turkey and cheese sandwich on wheat bread every day?
Every day.
Do you enjoy every last bite?
I get very upset at the last bite because it's over. It's only a half a sandwich now because I'm trying to cut back on sugar and carbs. As you get older, you got to do those things, John. So I just fold it over, same amount of turkey and cheese, but and then a Red Delicious apple and call it a day.
Red Delicious apple. What is this? 1984.
Most antioxidants and vitamins of any apples. Don't apple shame me. Everybody apple shames me. Get a Honey Crisp. Get a this.
Yeah, the Honey Crisps. They're $3 a pound. I buy honey. I have to get a second job to pay for the Honey Crisps that are eaten in my home.
No, sorry. K-Red likes that. Wow, every day. But no, every day. I mean, on the weekend, I may have a hoagie, half of a hoagie. Can't eat a whole thing. But I'm going to have a turkey and cheese sandwich with mustard on weekday.
All right. Thanks, Michael. Good to talk to you, buddy.
Easy, John.
There he is, Michael Bradley. He is awesome. All right, coming up, a PARX parlay of the day, and we'll end with some Phillies and other discussion as well. Philly with John Marks, PHLY, back at 2-2. Why, you may ask? Because time to talk about Empire today. Flooring experts, dedicated flooring professionals, focus on flooring every single day. So we've all been to those big box stores, right? You go to Home, blah, 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 or whatever. And you're like, okay, well, yeah, like I can save some money by going here and let me see what they have. So you're in the aisle and piles fill the aisles. Never seen so many styles, but you have questions and there's nobody that can help you. Right. So now you're like looking around. Now you wander down the plumbing and Big Lou says, yeah, sure, I can answer your questions, but like he works in plumbing, right? Empire today is your best bet for a new floor. They live and breathe flooring. Now, they don't do plumbing. It's the only thing they do, and you're with you every step of the way. So the flooring experts bring the showroom right to your home. So rather than going to a showroom, they come to your home. What's the advantage of that? Well, you're seeing the flooring in your spot, in your home. So the color on your wall is going to look different than if you're maybe looking at something in a showroom. You can put it up to your furniture. You can put it up to whatever. The lighting in your house is so much different than what you'd see in a typical showroom. And you're getting precise measurements taken on the spot, and all your questions are answered. There are absolutely no surprises. You're getting clear upfront and all-inclusive pricing. There's no pricing games, ladies and gentlemen. And if you want, you can schedule installation as soon as the next day. That's right. Schedule a free in-home estimate today because some things are just better at home. And PHLY listeners, how'd you like to save $350? That's right, a $350 discount when using the promo code PHLY. Restrictions do apply. Visit empiretoday.com/PHLY for full details. empiretoday.com/PHLY. Hooah. All right, let's talk about GLAT hair restoration. GLAT hair, you can look at it. I like with my hair, it is very like when I reach the perfect length, it's like I wish I could just have it that length, but then it gets a little bit long and you want to get back to the perfect length, then you get your hair cut and it's too short. You don't like the way it looks. These are the problems I have with my hair, which is a credit to GLAT hair restoration because my hair looks great. When I get that freshie and I leave the razor bar and I walk out and I go and I'm like, man, like the hair is looking good. Wasn't always like that. I remember the point in time where I decided to do something about it. I had gotten my driver's license picture and I looked at the old license picture and I'm like, yo, man, I lost a lot of hair in the however many years since the last one, which is normal. It happens, guys, right? So you can deal with it, which is fine, and shave your head. And if you're good with that, they're like, great. But if you're trying to save your hair, and I know a lot of people out there on Instagram or Facebook, or they're trying all these other sprays and creams and foams and shampoos, trust me, GLAT hair restoration is what you want to do. Hair restoration, yes, but it's not just about restoration. It's about innovation. All right. They have so many different options, from hair restoration to PRP and stem cell, from the TED procedure, which is something I get done yearly for maintenance. It helps with shedding. It helps with your hair thinning, right? Every year when I go to GLAT hair restoration and we take the before and after pictures, if I look the same from the year before, it's what you want. Of course you want hair growth. Of course you do. And you're going to get some of that. You're going to get that, right? But if your hair looks the same as it did before, that is a win. 610-980-4000. You can call or text them right now. 610-980-4000 or GLATHairMM.com. Hooah! All right, we're back. Julia producing. Tyler will be back tomorrow. I will be back in studio as I'll make my triumphant return. And as much as it is nice, and I like being able to be done at 9 o'clock and then being home, but it'll be nice not to be here when the children wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning. And it's hard to get anything done. I've had to wake up earlier because I need to make sure that I'm prepared to do a show before the kids wake up, because then total hell breaks loose. And like today, my daughter has this project that she has at school, and so like she's trying to get ready for that because like the parents and the grandparents come to watch it, but she can't find her black boots. So now like everybody in the house is looking for the black boots. And then daddy whenever something's missing, daddy threw it out or put it somewhere. Well, your dad probably threw it out. Yeah, I threw out her black boots. Exactly. Look, exactly what I'm looking to do is throw out her boots. So you can say that. Yep. We found them. They were in a bin that I did not put them in the bin, but we found them. It'll be nice to be back in studio tomorrow. We'll end with some NBA playoff talks, but let's get to our PARX parlay of the day. Yes. At this point, this is like kind of it's got to be a running gag because I think we've hit 2 in the last, I don't even know how long that we've hit. Yeah, so it's been a little bit of a struggle. I was all over Derek White last night, and he went off. He easily hit my parlay. But Rick Brunson, how about this? I called him Rick Brunson. Jalen Brunson went into the third quarter with 0 fouls. I needed over on Jalen Brunson points. He went into the quarter with 0 fouls. In 9 minutes and 15 seconds, he picked up 5 fouls. You want to talk about a potential fix? Putting their best, giving them 5 fouls in 9 minutes and 15 seconds. And then he fouled out in the fourth quarter. He would, like, at the very least, he would have gotten garbage points and he would have went over. So honestly, that's a win. And that's bogus. I am totally out on that. But we're going to go to the NBA tonight. Denver, OKC, Oklahoma City, 5-point favorites on the road. Very telling line, but I'm not going to mess around with that. I'm going to take the Thunder on the money line, which is minus 190 to close it out and to beat the Nuggets. So that's what I'm going to do. I got them tonight, and I'm going to go with that. Also, the Braves, going to go Major League Baseball. The Braves, today, it's an early game, 12:15 start. So I'm going to get this win out of the way early. They're minus 215 on the money line. I'll take the Braves minus 215. They really need to start getting it in gear here. And they're a much better team than they've been playing to start the season. So I'm going to take the Braves. We'll bet 100 to bet 125. OKC money line, Braves money line. That is our PARX parlay of the day. All right, quickly here. I mentioned I mentioned Brunson fouling out, which was total garbage. The Celtics put pressure on the Knicks last night by winning that game. It's the first game of Jason Tatum not being in there. So everybody looked really happy and rejuvenated because when Jason Tatum plays, the offense runs through him. They're ball dominant. He's ball dominant. When he's not there, now everybody gets to shoot more and they're happy about it. But that doesn't mean it's going to be like that in Game 6 and potentially Game 7. And if you're watching live right now on TV, shout out to everybody watching on Xfinity, Roku, Samsung Plus. Slide on over to allphly.com because it's time for overtime. And I'll end it with this since I'm a longtime radio guy. When I was a producer or I was like a co-host who worked with various hosts, right? When I used to work with Mike Missinelli, the first day of Mike being off for a week, it'd be like awesome. Mike's not here. I'm driving the show. I get to do whatever I want. This is awesome. Day 2 is great. Day 3 is great. Now you're on day 4 and you're starting to miss Mike because Mike's very good. Then you're in day 5 and you're like, you know what? I'm ready for Mike to come back on Monday. And then Mike comes back on Monday and it's like, it's a better show with Mike Missinelli here, obviously. Or name your co-host, right? Same thing with Jason Tatum. The Celtics got that bump of him not being there last night, and Derek White was nailing threes. He had 5 threes in the first quarter, or at least the first half. And the Celtics looked great last night. That was the easiest game of the series. We'll see what happens Game 6. But they've certainly put the pressure on the Knicks because they were playing loose last night. And now the Knicks have the pressure on them because if they don't win game 6, now you got to go up to Boston on game 7. And all the pressure is on the Knicks. And that's where you get tight. So that is going to be, and that's a Friday night game. So we'll talk about that game a little bit tomorrow night. Minnesota easily closed out Golden State last night. And I didn't watch the game because it was the later game. Maybe I watched a little bit of the first quarter, come to think of it. But, they made a trade for Jimmy Butler to be not the star, but to be a star. Right? Like playoff Jimmy became a thing because Jimmy Butler rose to the occasion in the playoffs. Hasn't happened since Steph Curry exited the lineup. I don't want to say he looked disinterested, but I think he take 11 shots last night. I don't know. I was expecting more out of Jimmy Butler than just a whimper in the last 2 games. Yeah, he was 4 of 11. Now he took 11 shots, 11 free throws as well. But yeah, like the whole reason why you get Jimmy Butler is that he's able to step up in games. He had 14 points and 17 points in his last 2 games. So kind of the Warriors go out with a whimper because Draymond's not going to be able to score. And then Buddy Hield's a 3-point shooter. And now you're relying on other guys that really aren't they're not primetime players. They needed Steph back. They needed to be able to do enough to get him back by possibly game 6. And just quite honestly, Jimmy Butler didn't give you enough. So the Minnesota Timberwolves win that series. They advance to the Western Conference Finals as OKC looks to close out the Nuggets tonight. All right, it's been fun. We're back live in studio tomorrow. Slide on over and click onto Anthony. He is live right now. Appreciate all the live viewers, everybody watching later on or wherever on YouTube. We appreciate you. Julia, thank you. All the producers that filled in for Tyler this week, thank you. We're back live tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Have a great day. See ya.
We all silly like the mayor.